So it seems like you're living your purpose, right?
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think I would say for those first 10 years in the Coast Guard, like nothing could have been better. Nothing could have been better. Doing it for, 17 years, my last 5 years, I think I was ready to start my next chapter.
Yeah.
And I was kind of leaning in towards that entrepreneurship.
Okay.
We started businesses. We start a business, it fails. We start another business, it fails. We try, it kind of works. And then we finally like got one right. And so we leaned into that. But I would say for those first 10 to 12 years in, it was my dream. It was the dream job.
And people go through seasons,
Yeah.
in life, and people evolve. So your purpose kind of can evolve as well. I want to talk about some details, the gritty stuff after Coast Guard boot camp, or maybe even let's start with Coast Guard boot camp. What's that like?
Coast Guard boot camp is underrated. It was terrifying for me. I was 19. I lived at home with my parents my whole life. Really like a really tight family, really supportive parents. And then I joined the Coast Guard. That you get there, they screaming at you. They lock you in a barber chair, shave your head, skin bald. You're just looking around. And I remember that first night I was at boot camp. I snuck out of my bed and I just walked into we had a little locker and I opened it up and I went into I took out I had a photo album and I walked into the bathroom and I sat there and I just looked at pictures of my family of Malia and my mom and my dad and my sister and my friends and I was crying and I was like, I can't do this. I was panicking. I'm not cut out for this. I was just with all these 120 strangers in a room and we're all just racked up on bunks. I'm like, what am I doing here? And I'm like, okay, just make it through the first night. And every day got better. And every day I felt like I got a little more stronger and a little more okay with being extremely uncomfortable.
Wow. So that was like character building moment. That's
sure.
the whole point of boot camp.
Yeah.
It's to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
And like it starts here. Let's put you through some of these challenges, that adversity, physically, mentally, spiritually. You're like, what the fuck? You want to run, but you can't.
I wanted to run.
But okay, so you get a notch stronger.
Yeah.
And then what after that?
So graduated boot camp, came back home for a quick, I think it was like 6 or 7 days, packed up my stuff, and I was off to Florida. Reported to my first unit. It was a ship, a 210-foot ship. We call them cutters in the Coast Guard. Walked up with my big green, we call it a sea bag, big green sea bag, 19 years old, shaved head, 130 pounds. Everyone just mean mugs you when you get to the boat. They just look at you like this, just getting in your head even more. I'm like, oh, here we go. But I just kept I walked in, I just kept my head low, just was respectful, and I just worked. My whole vision, I just constantly reminded myself every day, like, hey, like don't get comfortable here. That was my big thing. Like, don't get comfortable in this situation because you haven't achieved your goal yet.
Yeah.
Like the goal was to graduate rescue swimmer school and be a rescue swimmer in Hawaii. So every day I just kept myself uncomfortable. I gravitated towards the other guys who were serious about training for rescue swimmer school. I stayed away from the people who would speak negativity into me.
Yep.
I stayed away from them. I only hung with the positive people who were getting after it. And for the next year and a half, I worked and I trained.
So you're working on a cutter, 210 Coast Guard ship. Is it like a patrolling ship?
Yep.
Okay, so this is where you're kind of learning so that you can get into rescue swimmer school.
Yeah, so in the Coast Guard, for the most part, once you graduate boot camp, they call you a non-rate, so you don't have a job. In the Coast Guard, they call it jobs rates. So you're a no-job guy. So you just show up, pick up a broom, and just start sweeping. Just start mopping, just start cleaning bilges.
Kind of like a dishwasher in a restaurant.
Dishwasher in a restaurant.
The entry level position.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got.
I watched the way that you guys work in the restaurant, and it is it's almost exactly like a military. It seems like that to me. Like you've got like
The captain.
like you're the
Right.
captain when I walk in there. I'm like, okay, Ty's obviously the captain, and then you've got like your executive officers, you've got your operations officers, you've got it, and it goes.
The tiers.
It
yeah.
goes in tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
top to bottom.
Wow. Okay. So after working with the broom on the deck,
Yep.
right? What? How did you get into helicopter rescue swimmer school?
Yeah. So after working with the broom on the deck, I for a few months, opportunity came up on the boat that, hey, do you want to be a boat rescue swimmer? And I'm like, yeah. So I got to go do some training with a couple really good guys. And then we were boat rescue swimmers, which really didn't mean much. We didn't do much. We were just there for when we were there for when we did a lot of migrant interdiction out in Florida.
Okay.
So we would try and we were just guarding the coast, Coast Guard. We were just
Like Cubans on boats.
Yep. So we would
Rafts.
they would it was that was a weird mix of emotions, because on one hand you have 100 people on this little boat, and everyone has it's so sad. Everyone has their suitcase, and they're literally just trying to get to America to just build a better life for themselves and their family.
Because if they step on shore, then we have to process them.
Cubans, yes.
Cubans, okay.
They're the only ones. I want to say the Cubans are the only ones where if they get to shore, they get amnesty, I think.
Amnesty.
Yeah. So it was sad. It was sad because we would grab these people, and they're like, it would be like a mom and a dad and their kids.
They just want a better life.
They just want a better life, and we would bring them on the boat, and we always did it with respect and dignity, like, because everyone on the boat, we all are normal people, and we all have families.
Yeah.
So we see these people with families, are like, so many of our hearts, like, I'm like emotional, but like I remember like going back into my rack one night, and I was just like teary eyed, because I'm like, what? This doesn't feel right. But it was part of part of my path.
Is there ever a situation when you had to intercept somebody that stands out to you?
Yeah. It's funny because it wasn't a family. It was just a guy. It was like a single guy, and like I could just sense that like he was so desperate, and like he was so broken and devastated, and I just won't forget his face. Like I don't know why, it was just a guy who stood out to me.
Totally understand.
He was so devastated, and you could just tell, like, you could see people's worlds being shattered.
The desperation, the pain and torment that these people have probably went through where their homeland is. Yeah. And then they see this America and how great America seems. And then Coast Guard, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And you're the one with a big heart that has to do it.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Do you ever like have nightmares or?
I don't have nightmares about that. I have nightmares about helicopter crashes a lot. I have nightmares about being held underwater on rescue missions, even though I never crashed in a helicopter, and I've never been, pulled down. Like, I don't know, it was just like a great fear that I think that I had that has actually caught up to me now. At the time, I didn't think about that at all. It's just like I'm invincible. And now those thoughts like creep into my mind a lot.
So it's a real thing. It's post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So